Om Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. And we continue with the teaching from chapter 2 about the sage of steady wisdom. Again, this is the answer of Lord Krishna to Arjuna's question, which appears in verse 54. What, O Krishna, is the description of him who has steady wisdom and is merged in the superconscious state? How does one of steady wisdom speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? So we read the first part of the answer and we reached verse 58, which is discussing pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. Lord Krishna is saying, when like a tortoise which withdraws on all sides its limbs, he withdraws his senses from the sense objects, then his wisdom becomes steady. And in verse 60, we will reach 59 a little later, it is said that turbulent senses of Arjuna do violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he be striving to control them. So what is the situation before steady wisdom? We are carried by the senses. What is the situation after steady wisdom? We can withdraw them. We can withdraw them at will. And the commentary explains, withdrawal of the senses is pratyahara. We know this term from Raja Yoga. It is the 5th limb of Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga of 8 limbs of the Raja Yoga. Or abstraction. The mind has a natural tendency to run towards external objects. The yogi again and again withdraws the mind from the object of the senses and fixes it on the self. So the commentary here says the mind has a natural tendency to run after the objects, and verse 60 makes it very clear to us. It's not just a little innocent tendency. It is violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he be striving to control them. It's a very, very powerful force. But the man of steady wisdom can again and again withdraw the mind from the objects of the senses and fix it on the self, on God. A yogi who is endowed with the power of pratyahara can enter into samadhi, so into superconscious state, even in a crowded place, by withdrawing his senses within the twinkling of an eye. We don't need long preparations. It can just make it happen. He is not disturbed by tumultuous sounds and noises of any description. Even on the battlefield, he can rest in his center, the self, by withdrawing his senses. So we said that when we read those things, the answer is how can they do it is always the same. It is the disidentification with the body and being centered in self on God. So I'm removing my center from my body to God. And then I'm not so bothered. I'm not constantly on alerts which one of the 3 fires. Remember, we mentioned them in verse 56. The pain that comes from my body and other people, the pain that comes from forces of nature, the pain that comes from other animals. So he's not constantly bothered by what's coming to him. And we all know this experience, because pratyahara is not closing the eyes. When I close the eyes, I did not withdraw the sense. I temporarily told the body, okay, it is okay not to get input through the eyes. When I put, one of those noise-reducing headphones, if I have a pair that actually works, then I tell the body temporarily, don't take inputs from the ears. But what's happening to us? We sit for meditation, we prepare our body, we close the eyes. What happens next? We become aware of each and every tiny sound in the room. We become aware of each and every soft touch of the breeze on our skin. We become aware acutely of the smells coming from the kitchen. We know this experience, right? Because we are still very, very much interested in our surroundings. We are still very, very much in a mode of taking care of the body because we did not connect to the self. So the practice tells us, get a mantra, get a form of the divine in your head and use this as a prop, like something to hold on to so you can pull yourself out of this constant attachment, this constant engagement, this constant occupation with the body. But we know it is very, very difficult for us. In verse 60, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, don't worry, it is natural. The turbulent senses of Arjuna do violently carry away the mind of the wise, though he be striving. It's okay. Even for a wise person, the senses still violently carry them away, because to be beyond the reach of the senses, we need to be of steady wisdom. We need to be beyond being shaken by adversity, beyond chasing pleasures. And this is very, very, very difficult. We all know it. We need to be beyond identification with the body-mind senses complex. Very, very difficult. So as long as we are not there, the senses will violently carry us away, meaning they will do that even if we don't want. Even if we sit for meditation and we say, hey, pause. I want to sit quietly for a moment. No. The senses will violently carry us away, and we practice and we practice and we practice. And eventually we succeed. So this is why the life experience of a saint is our practice. And a little bit more about pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses and the challenges that we have with it, will come in the next teaching, of course, with some suggestions for solutions. So please join us for the next teaching. Om Shanti.